Hey, everyone. Happy Saturday night. It's Saturday Night Live with Jamila. It's good to see you all. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Put a message in the chat. Actually, what's even better is put in the chat where you are connecting from, city and state or country. If you're outside the US, I would love to hear where you all are connecting from. I'm live from my home in Barbados. As most of you know, I'm from Washington, D.C. originally, but I've been here now for about 2.5 years, living my best beach life. But I want to thank you all for coming on this live, this very impromptu live that I just decided to do a few minutes ago. And so, what we're going to be talking about tonight is actually everything. We want to talk about all the things. I want to know what's on your mind, what you guys have got going on. I'm also going to talk a little bit about whether you're an empath or not, because I've been posting about that a lot this week. And I've had quite a few people comment on my post like, hey, I'm not an empath, but I really relate to this post. And I'm like, if you relate to this post, you're actually an empath. You may not resonate with that word empath. And so a better word or better phrase to use would be, are you energy sensitive? Do you pick up on the vibes of people, places, or situations? If the answer to any of those is yes, you are an empath. A lot of times people hear that word and they're thinking, oh, I don't get a toothache because my friend has a toothache and therefore I'm not an empath. And that's just one kind of being an empath. But actually, being an empath is, are you sensitive to vibes? Do you pick up on the vibes of people, like funky energy? Oh, I like that person's energy, of people, places, or situations. So I see Fabi is in here on YouTube. Hey. LaShannon is in here. Eugene in College Park, Maryland. Hey, Eugene. Hope you're doing well. Let me know where you guys are connecting from. Where in the world are you? Are you in the US? What city and state? Are you in another country? Let me know the country, region that you're in. Crystal is in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Hey, Crystal from Canada. Crystal, thank you so much for always commenting on my Facebook posts. I appreciate you so much because you're there like all the time, appreciating the posts and interacting and commenting. I see you, girl. I'm not just some random person that doesn't communicate with anybody. I read all the comments on my Facebook posts, on my Instagram posts, and also my YouTube videos. So yeah, please do always comment. Let me know what you guys think. So yeah, type in if you're here, type in where you're from. And also, if you want to invite other people into this conversation, click the like button and click the share button, especially if you're on Facebook. Share this to your page because when other people see that you're in this live, they can come in and join our conversation. So, yeah, thank you, Crystal. Crystal says, you're welcome. Big hugs. Yes. Yes, thank you so much. So Eugene is here, LaShannon, Fabi. There's a bunch more people who are not typing, but I see you in the head count. So thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. So I've been getting lots of questions again about, are you an empath? Here are some of the ways that you know that you're an empath. One is, you pick up on the vibes. Another is you might have been accused at some point in your life of being too sensitive or too emotional, right? Hey, Charlotta from Colorado, welcome. You may have a lot of compassion for other people, and it may not show up. Sometimes it shows up as like, oh my gosh, I have so much compassion for humanity. Other times it may show up as, I may not think of myself as, the most compassionate person, but in my group of friends, for some reason, I'm always the one that people come to when they have a problem, when they are, needing some support. I'm like the first person they call out of our whole crew. You're probably an empath. You may have been attracted to healing arts, whether that's your profession or just something you're into. That's anything from health and wellness, medicine, intuitive gifts, ministry, speaking, writing, teaching, that kind of thing. You're really wanting to help people. A lot of times, that's an indication that you're an empath. Do animals like you? And do you like animals? Because animals don't go off of language. They go off of vibes. Animals are energy sensitive beings. And so if animals and babies tend to like you, because they don't deal with the BS, they just deal with real energy, you may be an empath. Fabi says she's in the DMV. Hey, Eugene says, I think that we're all empaths and can pick up on good vibes and bad. I always enjoy people with awesome yet exciting energy. Yes, I totally agree. We are all empaths to various degrees and in various levels of awareness, actually, you know? Charlotta says, I'm happy to hear you live. Well, I'm happy that you found me live. I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday night. Another way that you know that you might be an empath is, are you very sensitive to like negativity and violence in the media, like on the news or like violent TV shows or movies, or in social media? Like, does that really not just, oh, I don't care for that, but it kind of really makes you feel icky or maybe even gives you fear and anxiety? That's a sign. Oh, you know what else is a sign? This one a lot of people don't know about. Do you have hypochondriac tendencies? Are you constantly looking up stuff on WebMD because you think you have it? Oh my God, I have a spot on my arm. Therefore, I have, the 12th different kind of melanoma. Like, are you always on WebMD? That's actually a sign that you're an empath. For whatever reason, we empaths tend to be super aware of differences in our body. And also, sometimes we're picking up the vibes of someone else and their health issues, and we don't know that that's what we're picking up. It's just showing up as suddenly I'm concerned about this, and I need to look up all of the different health websites to see what this might be. Speaking of health issues, I mentioned it in the email when I just sent out a few minutes ago announcing that I was going to be on live. I was like, I broke out in hives this week on Thursday night. Like, what the F? I went out to dinner in this really lovely place here in Barbados called This Old House, which is like upscale traditional Barbados food, Bajan food. And it was wonderful. And about an hour later, when I was getting home, I totally broke out on hives, like on my stomach, on the top of my stomach. And here's what I think happened. All right, this might be TMI, but here's what I think happened. It was so hot. Hey, welcome, Adrian. Adrian said she's coming from Queens, New York. And Adrian said also yes to all of that, all the symptoms, right? Okay, so it was so hot yesterday that while I was getting dressed, because I was trying to look a little cute, going out to dinner with a friend, I was trying to look a little cute and had on all the shapewear and the strapless bra for the heavy duty hardware because I had a little little cute romper and whatever going on. Now it was so hot yesterday. I usually don't wear all that because it's hot here. It's tropical. And before I even finished getting dressed, I was sweating so much because it was so hot. Plus, I had this shapewear stuff going on. It's not just hot here, but it's like humid. It stays 70% humidity, right? And so by the time I got dressed, I was just like hot. I was hot and sweaty. And then sitting in that for a couple of hours. By the time I got home, I noticed like right at the top of the shapewear, I was starting to break out like itchy hives. And I was like, did I eat something that I'm allergic to? It's like, no, I don't think I did. I think it was like some form of heat rash. So, I took lots of vitamin C, drank lots of water, took some apple cider vinegar, used a little tea tree and lavender oil, and it subsided a bit. It itched again on Friday, but as long as I was, taking the vitamin C seemed to help a lot. A lot. Okay, so that was my little broke out in hives story. I haven't broke out in hives like that since I was like in college and ate some food from a street vendor in DC and had to go to the Howard University emergency room. Oh my God. Me and my roommate went and I had like an exam the next day and I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Anywho, I want to just pause for a second and answer your questions. What's on your mind this evening, whether it's about empath stuff, whether it's about my course, which starts tomorrow, which I'm happy to talk about, or life stuff. So I'm not doing readings tonight. I don't have the energy to do that level of, um, conversation because that requires me going a little deeper and I don't want to tonight. I want to keep it a little light, to be honest with you. I'm managing my own energy and my boundaries, and I have a big day tomorrow morning. I don't want to do a lot of little readings tonight, but I do want to answer your questions. Hey, Kimberly Morrison, how are you doing, love? Are you still in the DC area? And thank you. I'm glad you like my glasses. Um, so yeah, I want to take your questions. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? So by the way, tomorrow is the beginning of my new 6-week course called Empath Energy Reset. 6 weeks to eliminating overwhelm, mastering your energy, and turning your sensitivity into your superpower. So although we're doing 6 live sessions, it's really a self-paced course. with exercises, with journaling prompts, with down meditation downloads, plus online forum and lifetime access to all of that. So even if you take it once, you can take it as many times as you want. Anytime that I do another live round, you can attend that for free. So people do have had some questions about it, like what happens if I have to miss a class? Everything is recorded. You have lifetime access to the recordings. We're going to talk about one, understanding what it means to be an empath and different kind of empaths that there are, because not everyone's empath abilities show up in the same way. Two, we're going to talk about energy leaks, the ways that we are draining ourselves from energy, everything from the little stuff like we have clutter around the house to the bigger stuff like we have toxic people in our lives or we're in relationships that are out of balance. We're going to talk about energy vampires, people who are toxic, whether or not they mean to be, because not all toxic people are not all toxic people are intentional. Not all energy vampires are intentional. Hey, Zoe, I'm going to answer your question in a second. So yeah, and we're going to talk about empaths and relationships. This is an area, dating, relationships, marriage is a big challenge for a lot of empaths because we, and I include myself in that, we collectively can feel the vibes of the people that we're interacting with. And sometimes you can get ahead of where the relationship is because you're going like, oh my God, we feel so connected. That's a big red flag. Is when I hear, oh my God, we're so connected, especially when it's a client that's coming to me for an intuitive reading. When they say, I want to ask about this person that I'm seeing. Oh my God, we're so connected. I'm like, uh-oh. I know what's happening. The minute I hear that, my heart just kind of drops a little bit for that person. In all honesty, because when they start off with that, usually they lead with that because there's nothing else to tell other than the connection. They can't talk about the consistency. They can't talk about the commitment. They can't talk about the communication. Everything is we're so connected and I'm invested because of this connection, even though I'm not actually seeing the relationship progress in a consistent and healthy way. And so we're so caught up in the attraction and the connection, and we can feel that the other person is attracted to us and maybe even is considering a deeper relationship. And then we, empaths, start jumping ahead based on what we felt versus what they showed us in their behavior over time. Right. So we're going to talk about that, and not just talk about it, but all of these things. We're going to talk about strategies, tools, techniques, practices for how to deal with it, manage it, spot it ahead of time, be discerning about it, and then manage your energy and how you approach all of these situations. And these are the tools and techniques that I use as 10 years of a professional psychic medium, having done thousands and thousands of readings for clients where I'm like all deep, intimate into their energy and feeling all the things. Not to mention just being a lifelong empath who has dealt with these situations myself, including the dating stuff. Like it took me decades to figure out that that's actually what was going on. And what happens in that particular dynamic that I mentioned of making relationship decisions based on connection versus consistent behavior is the empath then ends up feeling over time frustrated, feeling neglected or abandoned in the relationship because they're doing the most while their partner is doing the least. And then ultimately feeling resentful because it's like I'm holding space for both of us and you're not holding space for me, or at least not on a consistent basis. And that is a classic like empath dating and relationship pitfall, is that imbalance of behaving in the relationship ahead of where the relationship actually is in terms of what the partner is showing you in their behavior, and then getting frustrated that you're pouring in, and the other person is like, oh, I'll do a little something here and there, but not really stepping up consistently. Okay, I'm going to take some of these questions. So that's what we're doing in the Empath Energy Reset course. Let me put the URL on the screen so you guys can see, you can check it out. The reason why I'm also mentioning this tonight is because we do start tomorrow. And it's open enrollment. You can sign up for it any time. But tonight at midnight Eastern time is the last time that you can get the current pricing, which is because it's a new class, I'm offering an introductory rate of 25% off. No coupon code needed, just register. You can see that it's 25% off. And then tomorrow, once the class begins, it goes up to the regular price. Okay, so this today and tonight is the last time, or very early in the morning is the last time that you can get this introductory rate. And I wanted to make sure you guys know about it. All right, let me take some of these questions that are in the chat. And hello to all the people who just joined us. Let us know where you're connecting from, and go ahead and hit the like and share button so people can join this conversation. So Adrian says, empath stuff. Is it an individual thing, or are there generic good ways to handle being an empath when we start riding on someone else's frequency? Earplugs, meditation, salt bath, sage, palo santo, tranquilizer. Okay, that's a really good question. That's a good question. What do you do once you start feeling the empath connection where you're absorbing other people's energy? What do you do? Okay, so the first thing is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, Adrian. And so, one of the things that I'm going to be teaching in detail in the class is if you start off your day grounded, grounded, centered, anchored, and firmly in your own energy, it is much more difficult for someone else's energy to attach itself to you, or for you to pick up everything like a sponge. So the more grounding that you do, or not the more, because it's not always about quantity, it's about quality. So when you start off grounded, less stuff sticks to you, means that you have less to clean up. So the first practice isn't about how do you get it off me. The first practice is, are you suited up with your own energy so that nothing is really sticking on you? So having a healthy energy immune system is just as important as having a healthy physical immune system. So we all understand how physical immune systems work, and that there are germs and bacteria and viruses all around. But when you are strong and healthy, they don't really stick to you as well when you have a healthy physical immune system. And you don't get infected, but then you have to get rid of it. Similarly, from an energy standpoint, if you are well grounded and have a practice of grounding yourself, then it is much more difficult for other people's energy to get on you, which means you have less to clean up. So that's the first thing. First thing is a good defense, good immune system. The second thing is being aware, being so well attuned to where your energy stops and begins, like, where your physical body stops and starts. Where does your energy body, where does your aura body stop and start, so that you even are able to recognize when someone else's energy is attached to you. And it often shows up as a sudden mood change, like suddenly I feel anxious, suddenly I feel tired, suddenly I feel drained, suddenly I feel irritated, suddenly I feel afraid, suddenly I feel sad. When it hits quick like that, a lot of times it's someone else's. Okay, and it's not yours. So being able to discern how, what is yours and what is not yours is an important part of being an empowered energy sensitive person, versus just kind of being at the whim of anybody and everybody's energy all day, every day. Now, then you can talk about, once, the next level is, what do you do to clean up? So a lot of the things that you mentioned are great. Earplugs if it's noise, absolutely. Meditation is part of the grounding. It can be a cleansing practice, but it's more on the grounding side. Meditation, journaling, yoga, prayer, whatever it is that kind of anchors you, and having a consistent practice and early in the day. I mean, it's great if you do it in the evening, but by then you're exhausted because you picked up all the stuff, right? Also, you could do it both, but even 5 minutes of breath work or meditation, just focusing on your breathing, makes a huge difference for the rest of your day. If you start your day hitting the ground running and off doing all the things, right on social media, taking care of it without taking a moment to ground yourself, then that's kind of an indication how the rest of your day is going to go. Kind of unanchored, untethered, and flying by the seat of your pants. You also mentioned things like salt bath. I'm a huge fan of salt baths. Sage, Palo Santo. Palo Santo is like a stick that you can burn. It's kind of a sharper scent, like kind of like almost like a cedar wood kind of scent, but it's got a unique scent. It's a very cleansing smoke and a very cleansing aroma, also like sage. So yeah, you absolutely can use whatever tools are at your disposal, whatever you prefer. I'm a big fan of salt just because it's so accessible, so portable, and so affordable. That a little bit of salt is great for getting other people's energy off you. And salt has the um, dual features of being both cleansing but also grounding. People can also use herbs and oils like peppermint, and we mentioned sage, sandalwood. You can use crystals if that's your thing, things that are grounding and protective, like the black stones, the onyx, the obsidian, the black tourmaline, the hematite type stones. Okay, those are great. So thank you for that question, Adrian. Let's see what other questions are in here. Zoe says, um, as an empath, what am I to do when constantly triggered by a toxic parent? I'm a caregiver for both of my parents. Ooh, yeah, that's quite a situation. So first is filling up your own cup. If you, whether you're an empath or not, this is advice for everybody. If you are in any kind of caregiving situation, be it a parent, be it an ill person, be it a child, it is imperative that you prioritize your own health and well-being, because caregiving, the act of caregiving, is you're filling up someone else's cup with your care, your love, your attention. But if your cup is not full to start with, then you're pouring from the part that you need for your everyday sustenance. So first, grounding yourself. Second is having really clear boundaries around how people talk to you, and saying, and boundaries is not just a request, please don't talk to me that way. A boundary is, if you continue to talk to me that way, I'm going to leave the room. It always has a consequence. I'm going to leave the room. If you continue to talk to me that way, I'm not going to come back until tomorrow. If you continue to talk to me that way, I'm going to hang up the phone, whatever the situation is, right? Also, if you're dealing with, someone with a mental illness or things like that, you can still take a break. And it may mean that you need to call in additional support, other family members, various nonprofit groups, healthcare aid. You may need to create a plan that gives you some additional time away to take care of your needs, your emotional needs, your energy needs, your mental health needs, your physical needs, your social needs. But you can still set boundaries with people who you are caring for. Just because you are caring for them doesn't mean that you're giving permission for any kind of treatment. And so, the specifics will depend on the situation, but this is an opportunity for you to practice your self love through boundaries, whatever that's going to look like for you. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Ashley is here. It's your first session. Your sister-in-law recommended you. Well, who's your sister-in-law, Ashley? Well, first of all, welcome. Let me know where you're from, and thank you to your sister-in-law. I wonder what her name is. Let's see. Okay, Adrian had another question about empath stuff. Is it an individual thing, or are there generic good ways to handle being an empath? Oh, okay. That was the earlier question repeated. Okay. Also, I have rheumatoid arthritis, and sometimes their energy, other people's energy, can trigger what we call a flare of symptoms. Sometimes it's so bad that I can't move and I have to lay in bed in the fetal position until it passes. Okay, yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to learn some grounding practices, because that is excruciating and you don't deserve to be in that kind of pain and to be triggered that way. So your system is so sensitive that it's telling you, this is not okay. Like, our bodies often give us clues that this person is not okay, their energy, this situation is not okay, this place, this physical location is not okay. But we are sometimes socialized out of that and start rationalizing and being very logical. Well, there's nothing wrong here. I can't point to it. But you have to learn how to trust yourself. And a lot of times our bodies are the first places that give clues. And in your case, an extreme clue that something is out of alignment. But for others, it may be very subtle, like, I have a headache, or I don't understand why my stomach is upset. I had a conversation with a client recently. We were talking about a situation that she was trying to change in her life that was causing her a lot of stress. And she was saying, oh, I don't understand. My stomach keeps getting upset. And I'm just like, your stomach is literally telling you, we can't stomach this situation. Like, that's what the nausea, the upset stomach is telling you, is this is not okay. And we can't stomach this. We can't swallow this. And so her body was telling her energetically that this situation needs to come to a close because it has a cost to it. So you got to be able to, one, have a very consistent grounding practice to strengthen your energy immune system. And then you may need some additional boundaries around that, especially if you're having pain to the level of not being able to get out of the bed and it's exacerbating a physical condition. Yeah, that's definitely the things that we're talking about in my program is specific techniques that we can use. I'm going to put the URL up here so people can see it. So Ashley said, connecting from North Carolina, Charlotte. Did you say Charlotte? No, it just says North Carolina. All right. Linda, hey, welcome. Linda is in Maryland. Yes. Adrian said, you know what? I know that. Now ask me how many times do I do it or how consistent am I with it? Insert forehead smack of frustration. Yes. Because a lot of times we need not just the reminder, but we need the support. We actually need someone to hold us accountable to loving ourselves in this way, to loving ourselves by having loving, healthy practices. And it's so much easier when you have a mentor or someone, a coach, or a community. And that's something that, in addition to the learning part of the course that starts tomorrow, there's a community. You have lifetime access to the community. So you can be in there with other sensitive people who get it and who are also going to be supportive of you because they understand you and they're dealing with a lot of the same kinds of things. And you can maybe even find an accountability partner in our online community. Let's see what other questions are in here. Hey, Palace, it's Sydney, currently in Denver. Hey, all right. Adrian says, Palo Santo makes me think of the beach and I love it. Adrian also says smoky quartz. Yes. The dark gray, the black, the very dark red, very dark green, very dark blue, like the almost black, blue, black, green, black kind of colors are great for grounding. Charlotta says so point on. Another great crystal for clearing other people's energy, if you're into crystals, is kyanite, blue kyanite. It's great because it's one of the few stones that doesn't actually need to be cleansed energetically because it cleanses other stones. So blue kyanite, and all of these things are that I'm mentioning are very inexpensive. But I also want to emphasize that the stones, the crystals, the herbs, the sage, all of the salt, those are helpful tools, but they're not a substitute for your will, your intention, and your focused energy. So you can go buy the sage and buy the crystal, but if you keep letting the dude back in your life that you keep trying to smudge and clean your energy, the sage is only going to go so far. So you may have to make some lifestyle changes or change the dynamic of how you're interacting with these people. If they're not people that you can just get rid of, like family members that you're caring for example, in a caretaker situation, you're going to have to change how you're interacting with it so that it doesn't ruffle you the way that it does. Linda said, can you rub salt on your body while showering or must you soak in it? Rubbing salt on your body is perfectly okay. That's what I do most days. I mean, there's some practical aspects to it. We may not always have time to take an hour-long bath or go swim in the ocean, but that's why I keep a solid block of pink Himalayan salt. It looks like a bar of soap that I use in the shower. I wet it, I wet my hands, I pass my hands over my body to cleanse my aura. You can use a salt scrub. You can just use regular Epsom salts as well. You don't have to soak in it. But the thing is, let your own energy be your guide. You will feel it differently if you've cleansed your energy well. If you still feel really kind of depleted, drained, exhausted, whatever, either it wasn't effective for you or you may have bigger issues, lifestyle issues that you may need to address. But that was a great question. Let's see. I'll put a new question on the screen. I'll take this other thing off the screen. Crystal says, can empathic abilities be intensified by menopause? Hell yeah. All your abilities can be intensified by entering into very powerful, potent periods in your life, be they puberty, be they menopause, be they pregnancy, labor, childbirth, be they different parts of your cycle, of your menstrual cycle. If you're a woman of menstruating, childbearing years, that can be very potent. So just understanding your own energy and the way that your body maximizes and intensifies energies? Absolutely. A lot of things can intensify during perimenopause, which is the period right before menopause, and during menopause. So that is a very potent time. Ask me how I know. I'm right in the middle of all of that myself. I'm 49. I'll be 50 in a couple months. So my body is changing, and my intuition has been going through the roof, and my empathic abilities have been going through the roof. In addition to the fact that the world has become, there's been an energy shift over the last 3 years. It started before the pandemic, and definitely the pandemic was part of it, where individually we're all getting more sensitive. Empaths are getting more and more sensitive, and people are getting more sensitive, and at the same time the world is giving us more things to be sensitive to. So here's the world sensitivity going up. Now you've got pandemic. Now we've got the actual pandemic plus the fallout, including people who are ill, grieving, or fearful. And as an empath, you're picking up that energy. Then you have in the US racial reckoning, around Black Lives Matter, around police brutality, around systemic racism. You also have a reckoning around gender and sexual orientation and civil rights in that area. And all of this is kind of coming together. Not to mention, we're in a war, right? So the world is giving us more and more things to be sensitive about, while your individual sensitivity is also going up. So, in addition to, you may also be at a very potent time in your life, having menopause, meaning that you're feeling all the feels, which is why it's even more important to have consistent practices now. Whether you do it through my course or not, having a consistent grounding and practice and an energy clearing, energy hygiene practice is not optional for empaths. It's not optional. We're going to end up with health issues when we don't move that energy out of our bodies. First of all, we're dealing with our own stuff. But then also being an empath is going to add to that, and then turn the volume up on our issues. So we're having a rough season at a level 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. Then we're also picking up other people's empathic energy debris. Then that can change our level 4 distress into a level 7, 8, 9, because we're feeling our stuff plus we're feeling their stuff too. And here's the thing about being an empath: it doesn't always show up like I am feeling John's anger. It shows up as, wow, I'm just so frustrated right now. I'm so pissed. It doesn't always register that it is someone else's. We feel it as if it was our own. So that's why it's so important to have this awareness of what actually is mine. Because a lot of the stuff that we're feeling is not even ours. A lot of the things that we think we have to fix about us is not even our stuff. That one awareness and understanding really changed my life, because I was dealing with chronic clinical depression, generalized anxiety disorder, also known as panic attacks, PTSD, OCD, all the things. And so picking up other people's energy, plus I was working as a professional psychic, right? So picking up other people's energy was adding to that. And when I began to understand that it wasn't mine, I really began to understand I needed to have some consistency in my practices, in my breath work, in my meditation, in my cleansing, in my energy hygiene, because I was just kind of like, oh, I'm too tired to do it. Well, I'm tired because I'm picking up other people's stuff, and not getting it off of me burdens me further, which makes me more tired. So it's a catch-22 if you don't actually take the time to, and again, it doesn't always have to be long, but it does need to be consistent. 5 minutes a day, every day, beats I'm going to do something big and take a day once a month. You need that consistency. Great question, Crystal. Kimberly, yes, still in the DMV. Question: how can empaths protect themselves from narcissists and toxic people? I seem to attract narcissists and I would like to stop. Great question. Great question, Kimberly. So, one of the things is, in my opinion, well, first, let me just clarify that narcissism is an actual psychological disorder. And I think in our popular culture, we use that word just to throw around a lot about toxic people, but that is a very specific set of dysfunctional behaviors that therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists have identified. Now, having said that, the people that we tend to call narcissists are actually highly imbalanced empaths, in my opinion. And they feed off of people who don't have really good boundaries. They don't have enough of their own energy, so they have to look for an energy source in someone else, usually in the form of another person. And empaths make easy targets because empaths often want to please other people and make them feel better. That they empath often will focus in on the woundedness of whatever happened in the narcissist past that made them that way. And they often think, oh, this person just needs to be loved a little different. No one's ever given them a fair shake. They've been through so much. And that opens the door for the narcissist to begin to suck their energy, right? And it's gradual. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's gradual until it gets to a really hard place. Now, the way that you deal with it is, well, first let me say this. If you have a light that shines is going to attract mosquitoes and butterflies, right? It's just a light and it attracts. And we can be mad that the mosquitoes are attracted, or we can focus on the butterflies and create good boundaries for the mosquitoes. So if you have a light, you're going to attract all kinds of people. It's not within your control who you attract, but it's absolutely in your control what you tolerate and who you tolerate. And this is where an empath has to have good boundaries. And that's something that we talk about, especially in the third module in my course, is how to not just have boundaries, but what are some of the things you need to say? Like, what are some scripts of things to say when you're dealing with these people? Because they are very well practiced at pushing your buttons. And a lot of times we as empaths don't really speak up because we're afraid of offending someone. We don't want to be seen as mean or selfish or unconcerned. And so our desire to please people, our compassionate desire, when it is our compassionate nature, when it's out of balance, can turn into people pleasing. And that is an open invitation for narcissists. So, and other toxic people. So it is our responsibility to have good boundaries and to be willing to walk away and not be so afraid that, oh, they're not going to like me. Oh, what are they going to think if I do this, if I say this? We have to be really clear. And healthy boundaries are a form of self-love. You know, I wrote a book about self-love, shameless plug. It's called A Year of Self-Love Journal. 52 weeks of prompts and practices for loving who you are. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart.com, Target.com, and a bunch of independent retailers as well. So thank you for your question, Kimberly. Let's see. I'm going to just take a couple more because I said I was not going to do a long live tonight. So Zoe says, yes, I've done that. I take monthly breaks and go out of town. That's good. Good. She was talking about her toxic caregiver kind of situation. Oh, Ashley, thank you. She said that her sister-in-law is Ashana. Ashana, I love Ashana. That's one of my girls. I didn't realize that that's who your sister-in-law is. Yes. Ashana is one of my girls. Tell her I said hello. Ashley also wants to know, how can we stop picking up the remaining energy of deceased people? Ooh, that's a good question. The same way that you stop picking up the energy of living people. It kind of works the same way. You can create boundaries with spirits and ancestors, just like you can create boundaries with regular people. I was 8 years into being a professional psychic before I realized I could set boundaries with the dead people who were trying to talk to me to give me messages for other people. I had to kind of create some office hours with them. I was like, yo, my office hours are 9 to 5. Extra credit if you know what that movie quote is from, what movie that quote is from. My office hours are from 9 to 5. And guess what? They were like, oh, okay. And then they left me alone at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was trying to sleep, you know? So yeah, you create energy boundaries. When you say picking up the remaining energy, are they like contacting you with messages, or do you just feel like a heaviness of, say, like a ghost or a spirit that hasn't fully passed over, crossed all the way over in a space, and that makes you feel heavy? That's kind of two different scenarios, but they both do have to do with boundaries. The first one would be boundaries and setting a boundary. The second one would be in an energy or space clearing. Ashley also says she's in Gastonia, North Carolina. Linda said, great idea, in response to the salt question. And by the way, the salt bars you can get like at any health food store, most health food stores in the Bath and Body section. You can get them on Amazon or online. They're very easy to find. Sometimes they're called salt massage bars, and they're, you know, all kinds of sizes and shapes. Sometimes they have little heart-shaped palm size ones. I just get like a regular kind of rounded oval or rounded rectangle, looks like a bar of soap. You can get them anywhere from, I don't know, three for $10 up to $10 a piece, but they're fairly inexpensive. And as long as you don't keep it soaking in water, they last a long time. So said, oh wow, on menopause. Yep, absolutely. It's a powerful time. Adrian said, me too on menopause. I'm glad this question was asked because I never would have thunk it. Also, because people who are in perimenopause or menopause are having the hormonal changes, but also because they are so powerfully sensitive, that is one of the times in a woman's life when she's most prone to depression and anxiety. So, like women in their 40s and late 40s are very highly prone to depression and anxiety, in part because they're feeling everything so intensely, but because of the hormones and because of the increased empathic and intuitive sensitivity. And that combination can be really difficult if you're not grounded, if you're not healthy, and if you don't have tools to manage it, both physical tools, therapeutic tools, and community support around that. I personally think that one of the reasons why it's so difficult is because there isn't enough discussion about perimenopause. There's discussion about puberty, and then there's discussion about menopause itself, but not so much in that period of time leading up to it. There was a point last year I was invited to be a panelist on a whole virtual summit on menopause and perimenopause and the gifts and challenges of that. And I did a presentation on how that period of time is so our intuition is heightened during that time and how we can maximize that. So yeah, that's like a whole thing. Maybe I need to do like a whole live about that. Crystal says it's so good to hear about someone else's experience. Yes. Charletta said, how do I cleanse my dragon heart stone? Okay, if this is a crystal, I'm not familiar with a dragon heart. I'm assuming that's a crystal. But if that's the case, you would do the same way you would for any other crystal. You could sage it, smudge it. You could bury it in dirt or in sand. You could set it out to charge under a full moon. You could spray it with Florida water or some other cleanser, sage water, holy water. You could even sage it, smudge it with the smoke. You could soak it in seawater. I mean, all kinds of things. Or you can put it in a container or a little bag with a cleansing stone, such as blue kyanite or another stone that doesn't need cleansing because it does cleansing. Hey, my mama's in here. Hi, Mom. Ife Tayo's in here. That's a picture of our niece my niece, her granddaughter, who just went to prom yesterday. Latana said, I know that movie quote. It's from the Five Heartbeats. That's right. My office hours are from 9 to 5. Yes. Ashley said, thank you. Okay, you guys. So I'm going to, okay, Adrian said, looking on Etsy for those salt bars now. Crystal said, never be afraid to talk about menopause. Exactly. Like this is something that all people with uteruses go through at some point in their lives, and it's not talked about enough. This is not a new thing. This has been going on since the beginning of time, but in our culture, it's not talked about enough, or it's talked about in little pockets, but it should be a normal conversation. We talk about, hair, we talk about diabetes. We need to talk about the physical, psychological, and intuitive gifts, opportunities, and challenges of menopause, perimenopause, and of that life transition. So let's see. I'm going to take one more question. Okay. Oh, Charletta said, thank you, Sage. So that's how you're going to clean your crystal? All right, awesome. Anybody else have a question? Oh, I did say in my email that I was going to also mention these two celebrities who just recently came out of the closet as being empaths. I'm going to see if I can find a little video clips from their interviews. These are two separate things, and put them either on my Facebook page or somewhere. But one was Michael B. Jordan, the actor who was like in the Creed movie series. He recently did an interview where he was talking about he's an empath and he picks up on all the vibes. And that's part of how, he had to learn how to manage that. And then there's the actress. Oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank on this sister's name? All of a sudden, she's a star, one of the stars of the TV series Harlem that comes on. I think that comes on Amazon Prime, right? And what's her name? Shaniqua. Oh, why am I drawing a blank? She recently did a whole an interview where she talked about I'm an empath and I got to protect my energy because I'm like a sponge and I'm soaking up everybody else's vibes. And I was just like, oh my God, yes. One of my friends on Instagram tagged me on her video. So I need to share that. Let me see if I save it. I want to give you all her name so you can look it up yourselves. Um, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Where did I save it? I did not, at least not where I could find it quickly. So I'm gonna see if I can find that. Linda said, also as women, we are not prepared when menopause comes. Also, how to lessen the symptoms. Yes, yes, yes. No, Adrian, it wasn't Shay Williams Davenport, but it starts with an S, and it's like I think it's Shaniqua, and I think her last name, her second name also starts with an S. And I am, oh gosh, drawing a blank on what is her name? I'm trying to see if I can Google it like real quick. Shaniqua Shande. Shaniqua Shande. And last is SHON. I'm going to put it in the chat. SHONIQUASHANDAI. And then Michael B. Jordan also. A lot of people don't realize that Michael B. Jordan, when he was younger, when he was a kid, was in the TV show The Wire. He was. Yes, she's the one with the big, beautiful hair. Hey, Marissa. She said she saw that she has big, beautiful hair. That's who it is. It's Shaniqua Shunday. That's her. All right, you guys. I'm gonna take one more question if you got one, and let's see. All right. I don't see one in the chat. Sometimes it takes a minute for it to show up on my screen. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. I am going to do a shameless plug. The doors are closing on that 25% off for my Empath Energy Reset course. I'm going to put the URL up on the screen, or you can just go to my website, JamilaWhite.com, and then click on that. But I'll put the direct URL so you can go straight to the course, and I'll put it in the chat too. Let me do that. I'll put it in the chat. I have a short URL through Bitly. Okay, so it should be in the chat, and I need to put it back up on the screen. Okay. Adrian says, thanks for everything. You are welcome, my dear. Go check the course out, because I think that given the symptoms and the situation that you described, I think you could really benefit from that. Not a question, but I just want to say I'm glad I found you. Oh, thank you. I'm glad we found each other. I believe in law of attraction, and like attracts like. That's energy. Energy attracts the same energy. And so you found me, and I attracted you. I found you, and you attracted me. So this is awesome. I think everybody that's here has something in common. If you are new to me and my work, please do follow me on social media. I would love to connect with you there. I do engage with people on social media. I mean, I'm streaming right now, but every day, like, I'm on Facebook answering questions and responding to comments. So you can hit me up on Facebook under Inspired Jamila, and also on Instagram, Inspired, INSPIRED .Jamila as well. So yeah, come hit me up. I would love to continue this conversation. I do see a couple people like Linda and some others who have already registered for the course, and I appreciate that. I think it's a wonderful way to gift yourself with getting your energy back. Like, if you're not always feeling drained, what will you actually have the energy to do in your life? Like, what can you do when having that energy has become normalized and it's not just an occasional thing, like I had a break today? But when you get all of your energy back, what can you actually do with your life? You can write that book. You can travel the world. You can start that business. You can spend more time with your loved ones, with your family, with your honey bunny, with your kids, with whomever matters to you, with your pets, right? When you get your energy back. And one of the ways that you do that is by stopping the leaks, letting go of the energy vampires, plucking them off of you, and then creating those healthy boundaries so that you can stay in a permanent state of having your own energy that's not like just bleeding out from you. That's what an energy leak is, when you're just hemorrhaging energy all the time. And so when you have holes, when you have these lack of boundaries, or you are engaged in your own behaviors that's draining your own energy, like how many of you have in your dresser underwear with holes in it right now? That is an energy leak. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. All these little things add up. It's like death by a thousand paper cuts, right? So I just really want to emphasize that even if you don't take my course, I hope that you got something from tonight, especially around you have the power to choose how you're going to show up in the world and how you're going to show up with yourself. And you have the power. You may not be able to control all the things outside of you, but you have the power to say, I'm going to start my day off with 5 minutes of grounding, 5 or 10 minutes of yoga, 5 minutes of deep breathing and just focusing on my breath, 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of prayer, 5 minutes of soaking in the shower, just being before I start washing everything, just allowing myself to be centered and to collect my energy so that I can greet the day, not face the day, so that I can greet the day feeling good about myself. That's something you can do with or without me. However, if you do join the class, you're going to learn some skills, you're going to learn some tools and techniques. And most importantly, over the 6 week period of time, you will have created a habit of grounding yourself and developing, cultivating, mastering your energy, of closing the leaks. It's not going to be a one time thing, because even after the course ends, the self paced modules, you have lifetime access to be in this discussion forum with me and the rest of the crew. And you'll have a mentor and coach in me guiding you through the process. If you got something out of the 30, 40 minutes that you were here tonight, imagine 12 hours of live instructional time with me, not recorded, but live. Well, there will be recordings. We record everything, but you actually have the ability to answer questions in real time, ask your questions in real time with me, and to learn the practices that have kept me sane. Because, like I said, I do have a history of clinical depression, anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD, trauma, all the things, and me finally getting to these practices is really what made the difference for me. And it is my hope that you find your way to prioritize yourself, love yourself enough to create these practices that nurture and sustain you, not just get you through in survival, but take you from surviving into thriving, into creating this beautiful life for yourself. I mean, we're at the end of April now. How many of you created at the beginning of the year either New Year's resolutions or intentions for the year? And now that we're almost in May, you don't have the energy to do those things. You don't have the energy to start writing that book. You don't have the energy to research your big, around the world trip. You don't have the energy to do it. So 6 months from now, where are you going to be? Are you going to prioritize yourself and start creating these beautiful nurturing practices for yourself that keep your energy, your vibe up high? You're a vibe energy sensitive being. You got to keep your vibe up high. That's your life force, your energy. That's for you, right? Fill up your own cup before you deal with everybody else. That's what they tell us on the airplanes. They always announce at the beginning of the flight, in the event of an emergency, the oxygen masks are going to come down from the ceilings, and put your own oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else. Why is that? Because if you don't address yourself first, you're going to pass out or die and not be helpful to anybody else either. Because if you're so busy running around helping other people before you have grounded yourself and started pouring into yourself, one, you're going to be depleted, and two, you're not going to be able to help them anyway. So it's not selfish to have self-love practices, and it's not selfish to have boundaries, and it's not selfish to have energy management and energy hygiene. Make this a gift to yourself. Like I said, with or without the class, I really do hope that you'll join me, because I know the impact that it can have on your life when you start taking your energy back. I know that. And I know that that's something I'm good at helping people do, because it's what I do with my one-on-one clients that pay me a lot of money. Right. And so I wanted to make this accessible so that most people could afford to be in this class. So either way, with the class or without, I hope that's the biggest takeaway that you take today, is that you deserve to have practices that love and support and nurture yourself, and that needs to be a priority for you, because everything else that you want to do in your life, everything that you want to be, everything you want to have, everything that you want to do, you can't do it off of an empty cup, depleted energy. This is your gift to yourself so that you can do, be, and have the things that you were put on this earth to do. That is my wish for you. I hope you have an amazing Saturday night and an amazing rest of the weekend. And for those of you who have registered, thank you so much. Someone, Soccer Doc, just registered also. Those of you who have registered, I will see you tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't make it, you've got other plans, or you're traveling, or whatever, or you're in the UK and that time zone doesn't work for you, no worries. You can watch the replay. The replay will be posted by Tuesday, no later than Tuesday. Okay. So anyway, I have run my mouth enough for tonight. Have a beautiful rest of the night. I love you guys. Thank you for taking time to be part of this Facebook Live and YouTube Live. I really appreciate that you took the time to do that. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.